Absolutely everybody, everyone in the world, absolutely everybody needs a little bit of Sunday Ultimate. Welcome to the UKU National Championships, the semi-final of the mixed division just unfolding. We watched quite the matchup between Bristol and Iceni earlier this morning. You can go back and watch it for free on YouTube, as you can watch this entire day of glorious Ultimate here from Nottingham University Sports Grounds for free on YouTube, courtesy of ULTI.TV. Courtesy of ULTI.TV, I am Lorca Murray, and I am joined by the wonderful Hannah Pendlebury. Hannah, how are you feeling?
I'm very well, thank you, Lorcan. We had a fun start to the day, an exciting game between Bristol and Iceni. A couple of unforced errors, I think just a little bit of morning vibes. Sometimes it does happen. UK teams have a little bit of a reputation for a slower start, but oh, hello. Thank you for joining us, folks. It's nice to have so many camera operators here at UK Nationals, bringing you every single moment of coverage. But we saw yesterday Lemmings did take a loss against Reading in the pool stages. So we have our 1 and 2 seeds, both emerging top spots from the northern and southern regions into this matchup here in our semi-finals. So Lemmings certainly, talk about unforced errors, they want to clean up their performance from yesterday, Lorcan.
They will need to clean up their performance from yesterday. Something that was frequently discussed as we were coming into this matchup was the simple fact of neither of those performances, to be honest with you, and you can watch that game for free on YouTube as well, we thought would be good enough to stack up against Deep Space, the reigning European champions, and a team that has a lot of talent and a lot of depth, Hannah.
They've only gotten better since last year as well. Some of the female matching players for Deep Space this year, of course, coming from the GB women's squad. You've got the newly minted Sarah Hulkyard. We've got Emily Van Sale. We've got a Gibson in there. It's all happening for Deep Space. They have had some incredible performances. Of course, Hannah Yorwith, I think, in the middle of that circle there, not recovered from that shoulder injury yet, so she will not be cleating up for Deep Space, I think, in this game, and certainly will not be there for World Championships later on this season. Big loss there. But we'll move forward into keeping our eyes on this game, and they'll be playing in those black jerseys. Both of these teams, of course, part of the elite invites. Lemmings have already stamped their ticket to the big show, but let's have a look at these rankings, shall we, Lorcan?
Like you say, Lemmings booked their place at the European Championships by winning the elite invite in Leuven earlier in the season, so they are guaranteed. Now, these rankings are up to the start of this tournament. They don't take into account the results of this tournament so far. So while these two teams are ranked 6th and 5th respectively, Heck are ranked 2nd, Glasgow Ultimate are ranked 3rd, two teams who have taken losses over the course of this weekend. So expect those rankings to change significantly. Not that it really matters to Lemmings, but it will be something on Deep Space's mind as they go forward. Pretty strong records, both fairly comfortable that they're going to qualify even if they didn't have the guaranteed spots. You were talking about the talent, the experience, the depth, and the somehow ability to keep getting stronger that Deep Space have exhibited, which has got to be quite frustrating. On the opposite side, Leamington Lemmings, a team very much on the rise, Hannah. Some of the players to look out for on that end. Sanders, who's been carrying a little bit of an illness but has been one of the throwing leaders for this team. And then Pantling as well as an offensive force. So easy to get free. We see Wilson and Edwards heading out there. Two other fantastic Lemmings players. Maybe they don't have the same star power, but they certainly have a lot of depth.
I'm sorry, are you saying Amelia Edwards isn't a star in her own right on an ultimate field? Because I'm pretty sure she got a star-studded performance at the indoor championships back in Lithuania with Team GB, and has come up through the junior programs and kicking some butt. Serious butt does Amelia Edwards.
I'm sorry, if we're going to start counting indoor championships towards how good you are at ultimate, then I think we're just grading on a different scale.
I mean,
it's not a real sport.
It's definitely a different variety, more of a game than a sport. The chess match that is indoor ultimate is really, really fun to watch. Very dynamic. I mean, if you didn't watch the coverage from Herning in the European season at the beginning of this year.
You missed out.
Yeah,
That was a fantastic tournament. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of chess involved in being really tall and throwing blades to people.
Well, it helps. It definitely helps. Ultimate is a sport where a height advantage really does pay dividends.
As much as we like to fight against it. Certainly some of us in the booth anyway. That was Katma, who was incredible in their performances so far. Such an athlete. And of course, the offensive anchor, Daly. Sends it to the sideline and a huge rip straight away. And Thomas is just about bested by Pantling. Oh, there's going to be conversation about the contact.
I think just a little bit of a collision on the cleats there. Didn't look like Pantling moved too far. I think, yeah, just Thomas just asking to get to their feet.
And that is quite a challenging matchup. Pantling, a brilliant cutter for this Lemming side. That stall count's getting very high. There has been a single look to the dump once in those 10 seconds. So you know what, quite frankly, I think, Ryan Capman, you brought that on yourself.
Well, Wilson normally found in the dump space for Lemmings, one of their key handler set.
I'm saying, if you take 9 seconds of a stall count outside the end zone and only look in the open side under. As here come deep space. And you know they're not afraid to boost it. But will that disc come back in? Not at all. So a little bit of an unfortunate shot. But early on, stepping into those throws, both teams happy to take them on, Hannah.
Well, Tate is the new Alba import into this deep space roster. Of course, last year there was lots of love given to a certain Alba and Clapham player who's now returned to the fold of the Open Division. If you know who I'm talking about.
Axel Mala.
Indeed.
Played for Alba?
Did play for Alba.
He is Scottish, but he doesn't sound it. It's so weird.
He's Scottish-Finnish.
It's a very particular accent and a very talented player.
Indeed, but Tate now taking on the big man role. And Georgie Hill, they're one of 3 Hill family playing out here at UK Nationals under the watchful eye, of course, of Mr. UK Ultimate himself, Cy Hill.
The godfather of UK Ultimate is Wilson on the sideline, taking on that central handler position for which he's so famous. That was a lovely dish back to immediately get it back to Wilson in the middle. Katma now surveying his options. There's Pantling, there's the break, and there's the first score, 1-0.
Yeah, it took them a second try to get it, but that was much, much cleaner. Katma, the lefty, always the lefties in Ultimate, much like tennis, get that little bit of adjustment time for most of their matchups. And just an inside flick, finds that space. And an easy one. Space with I say find space, of course space is the nickname of deep space. See Sanwell there, one of the longest standing players on this roster. And it's not something we really talk about actually very often in terms of Deep Space's vibe as a club. We talk about their championship wins, kind of how the team has progressed, the personnel on it, but also a team that has done a lot of specific coaching sessions on how to really play true, proper, high-quality mixed Ultimate. They've had sessions on how to huck to female matching players, how to shape throws, how to do things. So a really interesting program. Of course, when they first sort of, took the commitment to only play in the mixed division, the first club team to enter open tours as a mixed team, to use every possible sort of competition format available in the domestic season to just finely tune their connections. They struggled in the early days despite their fantastic roster, but it's been nice to see them rise to ascendance as they've developed as a team.
Well, it's all about putting in that hard yards off the pitch as well as on the pitch and really trying to champion mixed Ultimate. You see a lot of teams, dude ball's a very popular phrase. I've certainly played on mixed teams where it was led by our women. And the ability to combine those elements is what really sets you apart. As we can see Deep Space setting themselves apart from this Lemming zone very quickly. Dennison working fantastically with Caudron, but just taking just everybody involved in the process, and then they swing effortlessly to the opposite side. Defense, what defense in Deep Space? Keep it simple.
Yeah, like a warmed knife through butter. Jack Halkyard over on the far sideline. You've got players like Rachel Naden on your O-line and you don't even throw them the Frisbee at any point. Just really says something, doesn't it?
I think it's the gravitas. Wherever Naden moves, you're going to attract defensive attention and then you're able to just attack in other areas. But I would say that about a lot of these players. I mean, you'd also say that about Dennison. If I see myself...
Dennison did touch the Frisbee in that point.
A few times working down this near side. But that's the other part. As you were saying, they played true mixed. I think it was Caudron and Dennison down this side, and then they switched over, completely new set of players to carry it into the end zone. And that ability to attack you from every single position is so difficult to deal with in the mixed division, especially, I'd say. Absolutely,
because as you say, there are teams that are not very good at it. It's a proper true skill for athletes coming from either of the other two divisions into mixed. It's a you have to really change the style. And it's one of the things that actually from a coaching perspective, I think makes it so interesting. The fact that you have these different play styles, these different things work in different divisions. And it's just a really fascinating edge of the sport that I have to say, probably our Frisbee IQs aren't really high enough to go into the depth and detail on a live stream.
what is it? Brevity is the soul of wit, but perhaps not clarity in that instance. As we see that walk to the brick mark, the ever so slightly errant pull from Tim Gilboy. And again, it is Wilson walking to the mark, flanked by Daly and Davis. Daly gets the disc. So crucial to everything that the Lemmings offense wants to get going. Kapma. Bit more high profile. Highlight reel ready plays. That's a nice fake, and then gets the inside backhand to center it to Davis. Davis to Pantling. Pantling straight down the line to the waiting hands of Andrews. So perhaps not as swift, but certainly as effective as the deep space offense. And now Wilson staring at the end zone. He wants somebody to make a move. Andrews somehow finds the quarter inch of space and collects the disc inside it. I think that's going to be an injury call as he has to step off.
Nathan Sanders will replace him.
I was talking before about Nathan Sanders going for very aggressive stylistic throws, but battling a little bit of an injury apparently in his way, sickness even in his way to this tournament. So there's Sanders, goes straight back, keeps it fundamental. And there's Davies just running. Sanders goes down the line. It's all very close to that front corner.
Yeah, choosing a very tight angle is Sanders there. He's a small athlete in terms of sort of more of a running back stature, really tries to rely on his footwork and his sort of first couple of steps of speed.
He's going to need some support in that corner. There was a fresh 10 because of the foul, but since then Lemmings just going back, and there's the kind of aggressive throwing we want to see from Sanders, if you're cheering for Lemmings anyway.
We just want a tight game.
We just want a really high level game. And then the leading pass brilliantly shot off. This deep space end zone offense has been very impressive. Barely giving breathing room, and there's the huge hand block. And deep space running back in the opposite direction, but get a little bit ahead of themselves. So the quick turn around leads to a quick turn over, and they can't capitalize on the Millard hand block. Lemmings go right back to business. Davis floats it to the outside. Tries to get free. Back to Daly in the middle. And a follow-up break to Kama. That was two scintillating throws.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, you really do have to give the hats off to Stephen Millard. I want to say that gentleman might have played for Reading Ultimate in his time. That does ring a bell for me. But either way, a fantastic hand block. Just a shame that deep space couldn't really make anything of it, but turning Lemmings twice.
I really liked when you were describing Sanders as having a running back style body. Rather than saying people are small, just describe them as what?
No, I did also say he's small.
You did,
but
then you said running back as we have another look at the great block, and then it was these big time throws. Davis just can't get free. He was absolutely boxed in, but then a fantastic break from Harms to Daly, and then Daly hitting Katma, who leaves the foot in the end zone to secure the score.
Yeah, that matchup, that lovely inside break. I think that's Evie Harms with the break, or it might have been Leyland. But I have to say, how close was Emily Potter to getting the little block there on the throw through to Daly?
How close were they at almost every instance? I mean, Davis basically couldn't get free. And Sanders was struggling enough. Katma could, apart from that final throw from Daly, which was mostly on the throw, if we're honest, Katma could only really get free going back and giving up yards.
Yeah, it's interesting because it's kind of stuck with setting off from static positions to try and do that sort of back and forth. Maybe they just need to make bigger shapes.
That's Squire to Caudron. Caudron down the line to Wilson. Daniel Wilson playing for deep space.
Well, we might get a match-up against Brother Sam.
Hopefully, as there's the huge shot out of Cook. He's in the kitchen. And he's delivering too. Jack Halkyard with the score.
Yeah, part of the Aussie mixed squad is Elliot Cook, of course, was present with them at both Windmill and the London Invite. Well, they did some pretty good things, I heard.
I mean, I got to say, the gap between how Australia mixed performed at Windmill and how they performed at London Invite, I think, were pretty significant. They gained a lot between those two tournaments, because I watched Windmill and was like, you're not going to have a great time defending home turf, it seems like. Then they came to London Invite and they were incredible.
Well, either way, Halkyard using those legs. Just run that one down with ease. Of course, formerly of Smash D.
And has decided to move things over to the mixed division.
Yeah, along with his wife. And previously, obviously, as always, we couldn't forget talking about how he had a career start with Hawks of the University of Sussex.
Never heard of him.
But yeah, I actually quite like this. So Jack and Sarah Halkyard, they're not siblings, they're a married couple. Congratulations to them. Of course, Sarah, formerly known as Hills, normally plays in the number 10. But for this squad, she's given her number up. Will be playing in the number 98. But yeah, there's a significant reduction in Frisbee admin for a couple if they play for the same mixed team.
I've never thought about that before. But that's a really good point. Centred into Daly.
The only awkward thing is if your partner's not as good at you and you can't make the same level of team.
Oh, that's got to be tough. Pantling. Katma with a quick pop to Daly. That was much more like Lemmings. I'm surprised not taking the shot to Harms down the line. The big layout break. Opportunity upcoming from deep space. Wasting absolutely no time getting right back to business.
Oh, I just love watching Nikita Koshov play. He always seems to just get those little sneaky touches.
So Hill plays it down the line to Gibson. And then Gibson wants to lead it back to Hill, but there's the too late poach. Fantastic play between Hill and Gibson for the break score.
It's Georgie Hill on that cone, reeling it in. One of the more longer standing players for deep space, not a newbie this season. Used to play her ultimate for Sick, if my memory serves.
A lot of moving around between different clubs once you've been in for long enough in the south of England.
Yeah, I mean London, of course, the swirling vortex that captures all of the young professional talent. But and a nice place to live in general. One of the greenest cities in all of the world. If you live in the right places, of course. Bit of a concrete jungle elsewhere, but Gibson.
Was that a tacit approval for Sadiq Khan? You're a fan of ULEZ, are you? Huh, interesting. Must hate truck drivers.
Do you like choking children, is all I'll say on that one. But
children have no place in London.
I just find it amusing when you see the supercars running around. You think that, but the public transport infrastructure
it's
in London is fantastic.
I love the underground.
Although it is funny when you watch people get on at a particular station. So, sorry, if you ever make your way to London and you're not familiar with the place, which lots of people in the UK actually aren't, I highly recommend looking up the foot distance between tube stations before jumping on the tube, especially in hot weather where it's a very sweaty affair. Because the number of people that have jumped on at a tube station, gotten on the tube, and then it's like, well, you've probably spent longer time going down the escalators and onto this lovely piece of public transport than if you'd walked.
Well, I just enjoy the experience. You know, every time I step on the underground, it seems like a celebration of man's conquering of the challenges that we faced as we started to develop cities. I mean, it's really just an example of how we can come together and truly conquer all challenges that lay in front of us as a people. And really...
Have you ever been to Westminster Tube Station?
No.
A fantastic station to go through because it shows the different depths of the tube lines. Anyway, we could probably give you an entire Transport for London museum presentation, especially with our stats man in the booth, but we'll concentrate back on the Frisbee.
I guess we will, as Wilson gets it across to Daly with a tantalising outside in flick throw. I'm sure a lot of defenders wanted to take a bite out of that one, but instead it goes back. Isaac Davies to Daly. Daly unfazed by the zone in front of her. Davies across to Wilson. So that's Wilson. Davies then making the right move, sucks the cup in, freeing it up for the scuba over the top to Andrews. Great to see Andrews back out in the pitch, although maybe not so much. Slightly overshooting Pantling.
Yeah, very difficult to actually overshoot Persephone Pantling. She is a very tall athlete and is extremely handy with those grabs. One of several Pantling ultimate siblings.
So Gilboy with a chance to push out the deep space lead a little bit further. That one is fantastically led. Millard chases it all the way down and then goes with a massive flick blade over the top. Two deep space players. Really great combination. And now Saville working together with Rowe. And then Rowe tries to get it back down the line to Gilboy, but Wilson has other ideas. I really like that blade across though, and in these conditions that takes a lot of spin. As Wilson, Davies goes up the line. Wilson goes to the under in the form of Andrews. Andrews thinks about the deep to Katma, but not for very long. It's come out of his hands. It's going to be a battle. It's going to go back for a travel. So Katma kind of doing some free roofing on Duncan Rowe there. Doesn't count.
Well, I mean, they'll have the discussion on the travel call anyway. And I feel very vindicated, by the way. I am correct. Stephen Millard did used to indeed play for Reading Ultimate, as did Rachel Naden, currently on this deep space roster.
Just moving closer into the centre. So Reading obviously based in Reading. Oh, they've taken it back. The travel decided not to affect play, so they give that to Katma. In fairness, the Katma Rowe battle did seem unaffected by the travel call. So then, unfortunately for Rowe, that skying? It really did seem like a bit of a skying. You know, when you pinch pluck from above someone's head, he just mistimed his jump a little. Still
counts.
They all count.
And it was live streamed, so, you know, it counts extra.
It lived forever.
It will. I mean, the YouTube servers will definitely exist longer than the cockroaches.
That's the order of people. First the dolphins will leave the planet, then the cockroaches will die, and then the YouTube servers will go down.
Because, you know, those. Well, I suppose it's a thing for passive electricity generation, right? If you have to burn fuels for it, it will stop. But if you make it all self-sustaining, who knows? We're getting very philosophical here, aren't we?
It's, you know, it's early morning on a Sunday. If you're not in church, well, you could always find salvation with us here at ULTI.TV for free on YouTube. Remember, the London Underground, great. The Parisian Metro, waste of time.
I don't know. I'm all about public transport systems, especially the tram cam. We are playing right in front of a tram line, which I've never seen anyone get close to being collided with. But Lemmings at the moment, of course, trailing.
Caudron picks up, ready to go. The game all tied up, but Deep Space have stolen serve from their northern rivals. And that disc almost stolen by Benjamin Bruin, but there's the big shot. Looking all the way in the end zone, and almost a sensational grab. Van Zyl, another player who's kind of almost expect to come down with the spectacular.
Well, I'll tell you what, she might not play for Spice anymore, but that haircut is 100% 90s pop star vibes. That's a fantastic near miss. Just loses it a little bit, but a trailing edge full stretch catch. And those are the kinds of plays we expect Van Zyl to make if, of course, anyone has the audacity to overthrow her, because she's so flippin' rapid.
I feel like a big part of that was her trying to stay in. As I got to say, Bruin right now and Max Squires are having a hell of a battle. Bruin almost got the under ripped through D on the previous possession. Squires coming right back at him.
Not surprised to see that big tussle.
And then a little bit of an underthrow or a miscommunication, but Howard can't get the grips with the disc. And now Cook to Squires. Big step around and a leading break pass to Dennison. But a huge layout bid coming right back the opposite direction. These teams are flying all over the place. That was a nice little redemption for Howard.
Well, it has to be said, Lorcan, this is a much better performance than we expected based on yesterday's game for Lemmings, and this would be a huge break.
That was not a smart break throw, throwing it to the wrong side. The defender able to run in and just... Okay, so Squires gets the D, but then there's a little bit of miscommunication, trying to reset. Maybe things are getting a bit too excited.
Someone needs to call a timeout, I don't know. As much as we hate the in-game timeouts.
I go back and forth on them, but I go back and forth on most things. I'm not very decisive. And a huge layup in! Van Zyl gets the block in. There's going to be a foul call. Sasha Haynes, you were locked up, and, you know, that's a soft foul call for someone in prison.
Yeah, the line that Van Zyl has is very, very aggressive. I do like that positioning. I mean, I think maybe if there's a strip call, there's the possibility. It's within the realms of possibility that Sasha Haynes had a hand on that disc, whether she had control. I don't know, but I love the bid from Van Zyl.
So I think the fact is Sasha Haynes did get a hand to touch it at least, but she has to throw that hand into a line that Van Zyl completely owns. That's not a foul. That's you arriving late. If anything, that's her fouling Van Zyl.
I mean, it's a difficult one also on the fact that Van Sale is obviously taking a very aggressive line, bidding sort of into that channel sideways on potentially. So you
the
also
perpendicular argument. Who has right of way in that situation?
Yeah, I mean, she definitely has the speed. She's attacking that space first, but it's whether or not she can make that cleanly enough for Haynes to be comfortable with. It does seem to be, well, they're signalling for accepted foul, so it's an accepted foul.
And we move on. Haynes going to get the disc back. And looking at a few options. They're trying to keep the open channel relatively free. There's 2 quick clear outs. Okay, very few people able to get free, eventually able to get it back to Atwell. Atwell centers. Howard thinks about launching it. Instead goes back to Atwell. And set down the line. There's the big shot, plenty of people underneath it. And that is very nicely taken on the defensive side by Daniel Wilson. Because now he's caught it and he wasn't able to get the disc off quickly, so that pressure's starting to mount. Eventually finds relief in the form of Max Squires. Continues the break times going. Layla Dennison thinks about the deep shot, fakes me out a little bit. Cook, they're just working it, and then that's a really well thrown backhand, finding the space and just throwing his receiver open. Itermendi doesn't need help getting open with throws like that. He makes it look even easier than normal and finish it to Squires for the score.
That was an absolute marathon point there, Lorcan. 7 turnovers total and a big momentum gainer for deep space. It wasn't pretty. There were some very strange moments. We get a little bit of love for the glam cam from Max Squires, but that is not the level of play we want in our mixed semi-finals. Real grindy ones, some just straight up drops from some of the players out there on the field. I mean, I'm not trying to kind of, you know, lash any extra shame on anybody. Of course, it's a hard ask of playing at the upper echelons of UK Ultimate. I mean, that's a big wind-up, but the panache, the style, the grace with which Denniston always plays, you can see the wind-up, but actually it's still a decent gainer. Still have to have a lot of wrist snap on it, but to be able to stop one's own momentum, the core strength required for that manoeuvre is just, I mean, that's why Denniston is one of the best players that the UK has produced.
But that's an incredibly difficult throw
to
pull off. And I honestly think because that fake, if you're a defender downfield, you're like, that's a hook. You take a step out of position, and that opens up Cook to be able to get that big around backhand to Itermendi that brings them half the way down the field and is an easy catch. But I'm very impressed with that, and I'm sure there's plenty more to be impressed with as the teams take a timeout. We will be back to you very shortly because they're just going to line up.
We are a group of ultimate players, coaches and video enthusiasts. We've worked with the major federations and the greatest events.
We're on a mission to make Ultimate huge. We want our videos and live streams to be free to watch.
We want to make stories that not only reach you,
but also reach people outside the Ultimate community.
Like and subscribe, ULTI.TV, the best in the world.
Become a member and
fund
fund
our work to cover more events in the future and to bring more stories and live coverage to the eyes of the Ultimate world and beyond.
As here comes the big pull. And Megan Daly. Cross to Wilson. Daly. You see this big poach in the center, and it works out. It forces the narrow throw, not going to the intended receiver at all. So Gilboy didn't get a touch, but I think gets some credit for that block. Picks it up quickly and pops it across to Potter. Potter gets it down the line to Archer. And Archer was very impressive for deep space in Windmill. Back to Potter.
Well, of course, Archer comes with pineapple power from the playing with Desky.
Even when I'm trying to be objective, I don't succeed. Archer, best player on their team. Back to Potter. Another very skilled player. To Tate. Potter. Back into mid to Gilboy. He's looking for the end zone, and he finds it. My, they made that look very easy, didn't they?
Yeah, Jan, so just reeling that in, nice and calm and easy. That's much more like it. That's reminiscent of that first break of the game that was the clean hold. Sorry, clean break, sorry. Although much more passes required. The previous one came in 4, that was 10. Just trying to slow things down, calm things. We saw Tim Gilboy. So we get another look at that massive bid and just the slap down from Halkyard. But Tim Gilboy, who you see there throwing the assist, was talking in that timeout huddle very emphatically. So clearly had some sage words. Did you get a little look at Matt Shaw over there? One of the organisers here at UK Nationals. Doing a great job. Just having a little chat with Dan Wilson.
And right now, Deep Space doing a great job of ratcheting up the pressure here in the semi-finals. So Lemmings going to have a chat with each other and try to work out how to recover, as it is currently Deep Space 5, Lemmings 3. Of course, with Jock there, which will be happening just south of Nottingham in Birmingham in 2 weeks' time.
Birmingham isn't south of Nottingham.
It's definitely not north of Nottingham. It is definitely southerly. It might be like more west, but it's definitely southwest. It's not like straight west. Nottingham is the most northerly part of the Midlands. That's like one of the only things I know about English geography.
Yeah. But it's definitely like like Leicester is south of Nottingham.
I'm sorry, that is south. Everybody go look it up on a map. That is southwest.
It's west. It's west, definitely westerly.
It's southwest. That is literally, if you look at a compass, the direction southwest. That is 7 o'clock.
No, but if you were going to tell someone how to get to Birmingham from Nottingham, you wouldn't just say go south.
No, but if you were to say to somebody, is Nottingham north or south of Birmingham, you would say it's north. You wouldn't say it's east.
I mean, the grand scheme of things for the size of the UK, it's not that.
See, you know I'm right. Now you're zooming out to try and make, in the grand scheme of the world, it's all pretty close together too. All right?
Either way, it will be a fantastic time in Birmingham. More Lane Fields. More Lane Fields. Get your tickets now, folks, because there are certain players that went to under-24 Worlds and tried to jump the fence, and we know who they are, and they were evicted quite quickly because you have to have health and safety at these things.
Under-20s will be a fantastic tournament, so keep your eyes peeled, and if you can't make the trip to Birmingham, certainly join us online, as you can watch it all there. As right now we're watching some Ultimate in the UK Championships, the semi-final of the mixed division. Lemmings 5-3 down against Deep Space, the reigning European champions. And Daly in, well, I was about to say it was a lot of trouble, but gets the pop off to Andrews and then is in a lot of space. So you can see Deep Space definitely trying to peel off and help each other out by clogging up that open lane. Daly goes back to Andrews. Doesn't take on that break across to Wilson. Great work by Moss on the force to limit the opportunities. And it seems to be a force middle with a poach in the open lane, Hannah?
Yeah, it'd be nice to see. So you see Daly a little bit more of an aggressive position there. It'd be nice to see them kind of abuse that poach in the lane. Harms is taking a tumble upfield. But when you've got that big old poach in the lane, you can afford to be quite aggressive as long as the rest of your team stays out of that cutting channel. And you can actually just walk your way up the pitch quite effectively when teams do that to you.
Of course, some people, they just get that eagerness and they want to throw down. Wilson looking to throw straight to the end zone. That disc is always going to be a bit too far ahead and a bit too crowded of a space.
I like the shepherding from Millard, though, just making sure, because Edwards is very rapid, but that had way too much pace on it from Wilson.
Sometimes, especially I think on the flick side, you can just sit into the throw and ping it, and it goes much too far. The wind largely non-existent right now. It can bluster up without warning, but certainly compared to yesterday where there was a decided left to right wind, that affected people going in that direction, so it kind of limited the amount of deep shots they were able to take on. So here come deep space. They want another break. They want to push this lead out. They did start the game on defense, so they will be starting the second half by receiving the disc. Millard, straight down the line. And they keep it going. Lots of space and working really well for each other to get free. Was Koshoff who had that big layout block earlier in the match. It's back to Georgie Hill, and fantastic chase down grab by Kate Gibson. Those who know are expected, but might be a surprise for the less experienced. Moss. Hill clears. Big bid by Andrews, and it forces the throw out wide, but Alexander Thacker has all the time chased down and then makes a slight mistake afterwards with the throwaway. And Lemmings spared some blushes. Can they save the break? Pantling back into Andrews. Andrews, the inside break, a bit too far out of Catman. I would have thought maybe Pantling could run onto it, but other ideas from Millard. He steals it back. And now they're just right outside the end zone. Don't want to rush, don't want to force anything. You've got time, so take it. Hill. A quick move across right in front by Gibson. Shoots for Moss, and he's in plenty of space to bring that down and push out the lead to 6-3.
Yeah, you kind of feel like there should have been a kind of pick call from Ben Andrews at the back of the stack there, as you see Moss just emerging as if he's like cast a cloud of smoke there and just gone, poof, I'm here, I've arrived. I love the timing on that play when Gibson got that slash cut across in front of Hill, sort of, a little bit last minute after running down that very ambitious fading swing pass. But the timing of Koshoff's cut, the slash across to try and hit that break side, was absolutely a thing of beauty. Let's get another look at Gibson's rundown. Just talked about it, a little flash of the frog wearing those Clapham shorts. Won't get away with wearing those at Worlds. The strictness of the requirements. That, of course, was the earlier one to save possession to give us this. Oh, you're missing the amazing timing from Nikita Koshoff, but there you have it. Nick Moss in Acreage. Little spin round. I love that kind of look round of like, is there anyone calling up? No, we're all good. I'm sure that's not what he was actually thinking. And of course the break rake, I think. The break
rake. I was wondering why they were bringing out a rake. So what, are they going to rake up the leaves of their opposition? I don't get this rake thing, but
I mean,
rake, yeah.
Some field complexes I've played on, man, you need a rake to just like pull the kind of stuff off the pitch. It slightly boggles my mind, Lorcan, that we still have people training on Clapham Common, which isn't exactly known for its cleanliness of underfoot, but break rates there, very obvious, deep space, more
40%.
Opportunities.
It's a passing grade in Ireland.
All you need is 40%, still worth more than a first from Trent.
Leyland
That's a throw break.
centres it back into the middle and gets it across to Mark Lou. So a couple new faces coming out and not working out. Thomas with the big steal. They step in, they get the interception, the quick pop back off to Sandwell, and deep space exerting all kinds of pressure. If they can punch this in, it certainly looks like they are. There's almost crip walking into the end zone for the score. Duncan Rowe with a nice little toe tap.
Mate, that was good.
Hey, I love crip walking.
I mean, we might get a sneaky look at it. There's time with the conversation length, but let's have a look at this. So, right, check the feet. Or maybe that back foot was down, but in real time it looked real good.
Yeah, in real time, stylish, you know?
Yeah, stylish.
I mean, he's striking a chord out there. Rowe has options, overthrows, and it's rescued anyway! Sometimes things just work out.
That's Jan. So, with the second effort, I mean, but Sasha Haynes, what's the phrase that all of the coaches like to say in these situations, and we like to say on our live stream, Lorcan? It's 3 words.
Invest in gold, it never loses its value.
That's inaccurate.
No, of course, catch your Ds.
No. Well, since we're on the subject, no one ever talks about the fact that actually physical gold you have to store it somewhere. You've got to pay for it to be somewhere. It's the hidden little cost that no one ever thinks about.
Does it cost money to bury things in the woods? Ask my uncle.
Yeah, but is that really secure? Is it safe? That's how you make it secure, though. You catch your Ds. I think Haynes probably would have had a good opportunity to make that a catch, not just trying to swat it away.
It was the panic reaction, I think, because that was not a good throw. That was thrown away from Janso and was just going towards Haynes. Sometimes, you know, the fates, they give you one back.
Well, I mean, they're not giving Lemmings back in any moments in this game, really. That's 4 breaks for Deep Space. Not a surprise. Certainly we were expecting after yesterday's scoreline, where I think Lemmings didn't really give us their best yesterday on the live stream against Reading Ultimate. But of course, Reading's final result in that last game at Southern Regionals was a universe point finish 10-9 against Reading. So the expectation coming into this one is that Space would, you know, have a good time handling Lemmings, but they have more to show us than they've currently been displaying on the pitch. So hopefully they can pull it together and smash some breaks back of their own.
Well, we'll see what they can do with Pantling, looking to send it back in and floating it above Davies. Getting it across to Wilson and down the line to Andrews. So, from a moment of what looked like panic, they set up the big shot. Andrews sending it all the way down and almost rescued from gravity by Amelia Edwards. Herculean effort.
I'm really not enjoying watching the players off the action for Lemmings at times. There was a moment there, so obviously the disc was zippy and very, very difficult for Edwards to run down, but look how available Potter is. That wasn't her matchup and assignment. She just absolutely left Daly on the far side of the pitch doing nothing.
As here come Deep Space, they want to keep that store ticking over and pushing Lemmings further and further down. Stephen Millard sends it back into the waiting arms of Potter. Gibson down the line. Phenomenal grab by Koshov. Looking for Moss. I mean, that might have been a bit of a preservation of greatness. You make the stellar grab, the adrenaline's pumping. You're like, why not send the hook?
Joe Cole, why not? I mean, it's definitely a lot of boost on that one, a lot of air underneath it. You think it was a nice option that was developing and emerging. Moss had plenty of space, but you can see here he really does just have to slow right down to track that disc and just runs out of room, straight up and simple. You think, you know, 3 meters sort of further into the pitch, where that if that player had just been picked up and moved back, it would have been in that slow down, and then Moss would have had to do the last minute boost of speed to then go and attack the disc aggressively.
Just running out of room. I don't want to undersell Isaac Davis as well on the defensive side. Just pick the right line and shepherded it out. We were talking about Mallard doing it that earlier. Or Millard, sorry. I've got ducks on the brain, as that one is a bit of a lame duck of a throw, going just outside of the end zone, and they're coming right back at. This is fantastic. Quick play. Potter and Gibson telling Kovshov to get out of there. Going to run a little bit of a dominator. D-line 2-5 outside the end zone. This is my favorite kind of ultimate. The quick pass along. Thacker needs somebody. Gets Gibson. Moss, the shimmy shake, and clears out. Kovshov does the exact same, and it works.
Not even too much of a shimmy shake, just kind of aggressively hustled himself at the front of the stack, ended up with the defender on the wrong side, and then it was just an easy run straight to the left for him. I think, though, it's very reminiscent of yesterday for me, this Lemmings offense. It's the throwing that's letting them down. They are getting players isolated in spaces that are making fantastic cuts. I mean, Amelia Edwards being overthrown twice in a row, more or less. It's a really difficult thing to do, to overshoot her. She's so rapid and commits. You've seen her throw herself around out on the pitch here. Gibson, again, just patiently waiting for it. And it's just the old dad backhand, that outside in soft release for the goal. But the pressure is really starting to mount on the shoulders. That's 8-3, taking half in fine fashion for Deep Space. But Lemmings, I think, just need to sit with this for a minute and just calm down and just have faith, have belief in their own training, their own ability. They have a couple of their core handlers that, of course, have the spiciest disc skills amongst the team, but they're all quality athletes. They're stamped their ticket to get to EUCF later this season. They just need to chill.
Well, We'll see if they can chill during the halftime break, because they've got a long way to fight themselves back into the championship opportunity that awaits the winner of this game later this afternoon. As right now it is Deep Space 8, Lemmings 3.
We are Hive Ultimate, a group of players and coaches from all over the world working together to progress the next generation of Ultimate strategy. We've helped top teams win world championships and new teams introduce the sport in a fun and inclusive way. Search for Hive Ultimate on YouTube to learn more about our cutting-edge strategies and to see analysis of world-class teams. To find out what Hive can do for your team, head over to our Patreon page where you can gain access to our exclusive drills and session plans and to join our worldwide community of coaches. Get ahead of the curve with Hive Ultimate.
I'm Steph Pazzo, and I must eat.
Sometimes commentator, sometimes food eater.
On my ultimate travels in 2023, I sampled culinary classics from all across Europe,
Oh, wow.
guided by some of your favorite ultimate players.
That's the Dutch hospitality for you right there.
I'll give you an insight into the secret spots that only the locals know of.
Are these the best schnitzels in Vienna?
Yes, of course.
Yes, of course.
Go find Steph Pazzo on YouTube. Like and subscribe and follow the European Ultimate Must Eat series.
Welcome back, everybody. We hope your tea mugs are full, your biscuit trays are well laden, as you join us here in the wonderful tail end of the morning for the second half of the semi-finals of the UK National Ultimate Championships from the University of Nottingham Sports Ground. I am Lorcan Murray. I'm joined by Hannah Pendlebury. Hannah, the deficit sizable, the time running ever shorter. What would you like to see Lemmings change?
I spoke about it coming out of the first half. It's just a little bit of just backing yourself. They are taking on very nice shots. They are identifying when players are there. I think it's just that step up in defense. Obviously, Deep Space have such a high caliber of defenders to put across, and they are putting in these points in rapid fashion as well. There's just that one, obviously, tussle where Space took the huge momentum. There were 4 opportunities for the D-line of Lemmings, and they squandered every single one of them. The turnover count, of course, that's just been the only turnovers of the Deep Space D-line was that big old tussle. They haven't scored since have Lemmings.
As Deep Space flowing down the pitch, already at the halfway point. Caudron makes the move and gets free. Catches on the second breath, but they've been doing that all game long. These second chance grabs, you've got to stay active, you've got to stay involved. Ishamendi taking on much more of a role in this point. That's to Denison. Swept across. Denison wants it back. Receives it from Hulkyard. Gives it straight back. And there's the pass. There's going to be a pick called. That makes sense.
Yeah, about 2 passes ago.
If Itermendi is that free on the front corner, it's a difference if you see Moss cutting and then is surprised he isn't followed and Itermendi standing still.
The other thing I'd like to see Lemmings do, looking at some of this D-line, is maybe do a couple of power lines just to get some on the board, stop their flow.
Yeah, to start the second half, it's certainly a good time for it. Hulkyard, reset. Looks dump and gives lots of time to Denison. Big fan of that decision. There's calls for big break throws. Goes Denison back to Hulkyard. And the inside scoop, but no continuation cut to the break corner. So again, it's just Denison and Hulkyard resetting between each other until further opportunities develop in the end zone. And eventually Itermendi, there was no pick that time, but he was falling out of the end zone. Front corner. Wants to go back. Denison looks away. And instead launches one that's a lot of people underneath. But only one person coming down with it. Absolutely excellent stuff from Elliot Cook.
Yeah, you have to actually be careful. There was a moment there where I thought, hold on, just try and get the right name. No, the defender at the front of the pack. Can't see him on my roster sheet, but Yeah, actually was not looking at the Frisbee when he was trying to go up in that sort of pack of players. It might have been the case he was trying to avoid contact by not turning around. But yeah, if he had managed to get a D, but just sort of flailing wildly, that opens yourself up to a kind of a call of sort of blocking, illegal blocking. I'm trying to think what the rule name is. But anyway, that will do for deep space. A bit of a slightly risky biscuit going across.
Yes. Well, no, in fairness, Denison was fairly well shut down, so I could understand looking to that throw a little bit earlier in the stall count. Speaking
of Denison, love the fact that was a lefty no-look. I mean, she is a lefty, but the no-look to Itamendi on that front cone. I'm going to be aware in my peripheral vision that you are in that space and execute the throw absolutely perfectly without ever looking at you.
The no-look is one of my favourite throws and something that's really useful against zones. You lie with your eyes, which is why if I was in this situation and I'm trying to recover back onto the disc, and you can kind of see there, I think it was Oliver May, who winds up getting a little bit lost underneath it and is in that position to just try and make sure I don't want to cause bad contact. I would look at the eyes of the receiver and just put my hand up around here to try and stop it. As long as you don't make contact with people, that's fine. You're making a play.
But if you can have your eyes on the disc, you've got a better chance of...
It helps, yeah, sure. Wilson, middle of the pitch, received it from Daly, sends it across to Davis. And back to Wilson, that three-pronged attack at the base of Lemmings. Wilson and Davis, you can see still a little bit of poaching into that open lane where available. Katma has Pantling immediately in front of him. Waits for the clear out. It goes to Daly, middle of the pitch. Daly to Wilson. Moss almost sneaking through with the block. Wilson to Davis. Katma turns to go back under, but instead burns deep, and Wilson sits into the position. Under throws, but over corrected on the grab by Katma.
Yeah, nice one from Katma there, catching Tate at a very awkward angle. You can see a little bit of frustration on the big Scotsman. But no, that was much more confident and better flow. I mean, it's still the same 7 players that we've been seeing more or less coming out for defence repeatedly for Lemmings. So they are staying with their best 7 offensive players, not pulling across anybody from the line. I mean, we're seeing, of course, Mondo Megaquads herself, Rosie Bailey, coming across for the defensive efforts with Lemmings. One might see her sneak across to an O-line every so often, but Katma, and that's an offhand grab for him, being a lefty. Just taking that diagonal jump and reach. Of course, Katma was it's very familiar with the sports complex, not only having played here for the domestic seasons, but also representing with GB Mixed at under-24s last year, which was a very enjoyable team to watch and did pretty well.
Yeah, it did all right.
I think over a lot of people's estimations.
That's so difficult at the junior level, though. You're just like, I'm going to guess based on what I saw 2 years ago. It's not the same thing.
It is
and
slightly...
especially with that tournament, it's been so long.
It is slightly easier to predict on under-24s than it is for under-20s, though, because generally speaking, when you're in your early 20s, you tend to end up playing for a club scene. There's a bit more tape on you, there's a bit more expectation. But I agree, it's a tricky one.
There's such variance in the moment. And a lot of those players are second-line players or have veterans to lead them, and all of a sudden they're in leadership positions. It's why watching juniors, watching under-24 is so exciting, and why you should definitely join us in 2 weeks' time at the Worlds. Watch the next generation of leaders. Because right now we are watching the current European leaders largely take care of business, but every now and again you play some risky business, you get punished. Oliver May stepping through, knocking that down. Great poach block.
Yeah, Ollie May's not exactly a small lad. I don't understand quite how Van Sale managed to miss him, but he was there and ready to pounce.
Atwell picks it up immediately into May and gets it back. Wants another undercut. There's pointing, directing to Bruin. He's open, they're peeling off. And Bruin threw that, honestly, a little bit more to Caudron than to Wong.
Yeah, a very strange throw indeed. See Luke Atwell, Giggsy, not with his iconic quarterback hand warmer. Just shows the difference between yesterday's conditions and today.
Cook, straight into the middle to Itermendi. Itermendi back to Caudron. And that line effect, the under, the pop, and the follow-up under. And now they look to go the other way. Fantastic structure from deep space. And really great battle, somehow eventually getting free. And down the line, Squires. Oh, that was brilliant to Hulkyard. And then Itermendi's just going to chase that one down. Wow, they really look like champions to me.
Yeah, that was all set up by that throw from Squires after he ground all the way underneath. I mean, I was going to make a slightly sarcastic comment when you said he finally got the disc after winning the battle on the bounce up from having ground under against Atwell. But it was the throw hitting that break side, and again, the kind of the clinical style with which a lot of these higher level teams move, that spacing, that maintenance of distance between each other while still staying connected. Let's get another look at that one. Just a poor throw from Bruin. Very, very unfortunate. But you can see here, Atwell does find his position. It's just such a beautiful, soft, curving breakside throw over to Hulkyard. And that's exactly the right thing to do for Itamendi, staying just far enough away that it's not an awkward angle, but close enough that it's an easy pass.
I think Itamendi could have run onto that throw from Squires as well, if he wanted to. Really fantastic vision. And I honestly, I thought the defense by Atwell was really strong for the most part, but then that little plant and pop into the up the line, and then you're in a power position and good throwers.
Yeah, it just goes to
pull
show
your defense apart.
Just goes to show that the offense really does have a considerable advantage.
So there's the big pull out of the hands of Tate, or Millard, sorry, Millard. And then Wilson has Daly. And that's going to pull Potter out of the open channel. And I really think that's how you beat that kind of a poach. You throw and you go. So as the poach is trying to get back on the force, you're already burning up the line for what's generally pretty free. Daly sends one. Looking for Edwards initially, but in the end it goes to Andrews, and Andrews is going to need to take one.
Again, that's the second big reception for Ben Andrews, where he's caught the disc and then immediately had to leave the pitch due to getting collattered. This time it was the hospital pass from Daly that kind of just saw that big old pack emerging. It's always going to be physicality under a disc like that, but hopefully he'll be able to return again. Will be replaced by Katma.
Not a bad person to bring on when you're right at the red zone within your opponent's brick mark and looking to finish off the point. Lemmings could really do with getting a score on the board. Katma taps it. Davis and Terrell clear. Terrell looks to finish it off and does so, finding Amelia Edwards for the much needed hold.
Well, there was a real opportunity in the previous point for Lemmings to try and steal a break back, currently trailing 5 breaks to their opponents, so double the scoreline. Space really just charging ahead and towards the final with just under an hour expired so far in the game. So there's also time for a comeback, but what a mountain to climb at the moment. I've noticed something this tournament, Lorcan. On the lines, we get another look at that beautiful piece of skywork from Ben Andrews, who I think we will staying on the sideline for a couple more points. Of course, because especially we're coming out on D with Rosie Bailey readying for the pull. But there's this new thing where, like, players on the line after the gender ratio has been confirmed, actually indicating as individuals on the pitch their chosen gender matching credentials.
I have been seeing that for a wee while, and I always thought it was great, especially if you weren't entirely sure. Maybe the other team did know, and you just kind of go, which, and then you look over and they're all right, they've gone 3 female matching, 4 male matching. Is that right? That sounds right. All right, quick. But also, it can be very useful for clarifying, especially with hats and, you know, distance and stuff. You're like, I have no idea. And once you start matching up, because it kind of reveals you're going for match defense to an extent, you can request them as well to let you know.
So Bailey with the pull of that little flip up of the disc at the last minute to give it that extra bit of air.
Cauldron with the disc. Back to Cook. And across. Nice little quick bit of running. Cauldron wants to finish to Squires, doesn't take it on, goes back to Cook instead. You can see Deep Space overloading this side to get around the poach. And Squires directing traffic a little bit. Cauldron as well, and Denison has it. Things are getting a little bit dicey, but they play through and they're feeling a lot stronger. Naden launches, looking for the end zone. That is an absolute picture perfect score to Claire Baker.
That's very entertaining as well, because actually there was a moment of hesitation where Claire Baker had actually turned around to kind of flood back under and clear out of the end zone. But Naden has other ideas and boosts it all the way to the back line of the end zone. Of course, lovely to see Baker back to full form. Had shoulder surgery some time ago now, but just loving to see her flourishing out here. One of the leaders as well of this team alongside Denniston. I think they do the job for kind of the female matching side of the space leadership.
Showing off on opposite ends of the disc, but coming together to help be a part of that score. 6 out of 7, I think, if not all 7 touched it there in deep space. But I really like the way Squires and Cook and Caudron were working together and then telling each other what to do based on what they could see once they no longer had the disc. And that kind of handlers just swinging it back and forth, making that little move to overload the right side, finding the open pass, and then sending it back and being like, keep going. That's just speaks to what I would consider championship caliber. Your ability to just swing relentlessly. It's like a river against a rock. You will eventually wear it down. So, how do Lemmings respond? Hits the cone.
The cone is part of the line.
So that's out of bounds then.
Correct. That's why you also should not move the cones when you're setting
I'm
your
not
pivot.
getting into this with you and Benji again. I can hear the spirit of Benji agreeing with you. Look, you don't like people kicking cones. We get it.
Oh no, kick the cones in frustration.
Davis.
It's hilarious, but just don't move it.
Edwards down the line to Katma. Katma leading it across. Edwards gets it back. Doesn't finish it. Fantastic defensive covering. But then goes into the center instead, and the finish stop. That was brilliant. Pantling gets the final score from Wilson, but all around, great stuff from Lemmings.
Oh, smiles with Thomas as well. Just a little cuddle to finish it off after a good battle. Persephone Pantling reeling that one in. We're now in a rhythm of trading, Lorcan. And what a clean section of the game it has been as well. A distant memory, that grindy point where it was 4 turnovers each just for deep space to hold. And this is much better now. It's about trying to apply more pressure if you are Lemmings. What are you going to throw at deep space? Is it going to be a zone? Is it going to be force middle, force out? All kinds of things. Many options you have. And I'm sure Sanders is currently matriculating on the sidelines, thinking about what they should be doing to try and steal the disc away, but also then punch it in.
They did try a zone earlier, and it got destroyed.
Sorry, I've just noticed there's a key person not actually cleated up for Lemmings, and that's William Peach. Currently in a very fetching fade hoodie and trainers.
Whenever I see designs like that, it just reminds me of gradients in Photoshop.
Oh, you mean PowerPoint?
I meant Photoshop, but yeah, PowerPoint for...
That's the OG. The OG was the gradient backgrounds in PowerPoint when you were a kiddo at school in IT lessons. How can I make this more naughties?
IT lessons.
Maybe did they have that budget in Ireland?
You know, once electricity kicked in 2005, we started to see a couple of computers, but like a whole class on it? No. Maybe 3 smart kids. They were lucky.
Oh, mate, key skills. Anyone who grew up in England and was forced to do key skills qualifications, it's a generational vibe. If you know, you know.
It takes a certain type, I suppose, as they get it across to Squires. Back to Cook, and the Squires Cook, well, back to Caudron even, but the Squires Cook Caudron combination. As you can see, they have gone just poaching off a little bit more. I really thought Cook was going to take advantage of that and throw the Squires on the side and goes to Idermendi instead. So this is really good work by Deep Space to find the space wherever it appears. They've located the mismatch. And it's well taken down by Max Squires.
Well, you've got to have a go, haven't you? Throw something different at them. But Space now 3 points away from seeing themselves into another UK final. And some happiness there as Squire celebrates with the glam cam once more. A little fun fact for you actually from our live chat. Ben Andrews, the #1 for Lemmings, who's had those injuries to take him off the field twice now. A former RGS player, so Royal Ultimate Society. A bit of a vintage mixed squad. Or are we? No, I'm getting a big head shake from Sean Colfer.
Well, look, it doesn't matter. Royal Gultimate isn't a thing anyway, and abolish the monarchy.
Well,
so
no,
right
it
now,
wasn't. They weren't Gultimate. It was well, they were Gultimate on the side, but it was a combo team, mixed outfit of Open and Women's Division players coming together to create a little bit of a super team that did quite well many moons ago.
Congratulations to them in the past, I suppose, but you can see growing and showing that experience and helping this Lemmings side, but he'll need a lot more help if they're looking to cover the 6-point gap and get back into it, as right now it is Deep Space 12 and Lemmings 6.
Always on the move? You can keep up to date with ULTI.TV on all of our social media channels. Like, follow, subscribe, share us with a friend, or send us a message just to say hey. Thank you for supporting us in our mission to grow Ultimate everywhere.
Oh my goodness! That is unbelievable! And created the net and made good!
That was absolutely incredible.
Welcome back, everybody. My ability to press a button is far outstripped by Deep Space ability to push the right buttons offensively and defensively, as they have driven themselves into a commanding 12-6 lead and look to finish this match up. The big pull out of the hands of Stephen Millard lands inbounds and is going to pin Daly back in the danger zone. Get it across to Davis, and huge pressure capitalized upon by Sarah. Wait, hold on. No, yep, Thacker's D is going to stand. Thought maybe there was going to be a little bit of call, but it's fine. So now Gilboy picks it up, flanked by Potter, staring at classic 2-5 in the end zone. Daly taking her time to get out there and cover it. Potter takes advantage, big swing all the way across, and there's the easy pop in. Fantastic finish. Duncan Rowe gets the score that he was denied earlier on.
Yeah, lovely bit of vision there. John Saville with the aggressive move towards the break side as the heavens begin to just pierce open here on the live showcase field. And we just move all of our electronics slightly away from our own danger zone. But fantastic pull, really sets it up. Just makes your job so much easier as a defense if those first 3 or 4 passes just sit in the end zone. So 2 points away from the game now for Deep Space. Edwards, valiant effort, but just so difficult to slow this machine down now. But hoping to throw a spanner in the works and just hold on to their offense, because it has been a long section of trading. It has been a full 7 points that we haven't seen anybody snag a break away. But one opportunity that Lemmings had and then missed.
So realistically, this is something of a schwacking.
Shellacking.
I went with the American pronunciation, I guess.
I've never really understood. I mean, it's sort of putting your opponents in resin, and I think that's probably actually quite an accurate thing here.
Is that what that is?
Well, shellac is a type of hard resin, so you can get. I accidentally got shellacked once in a nail bar.
I thought it was onomatopoeic. So, as in you take a whack, you take a shellac. Almost like you were getting hit with a bat in 2 parts.
It does sound a little bit like Cockney rhyming slang vibes, doesn't it?
As just a quick reminder of the EUCS rankings, for which this is relevant certainly for Deep Space, the predicted score was a draw. Not that really matters to Lemmings, they are already qualified, but this will go a long way to helping Deep Space's ranking. As Lemmings, not out of it yet, and every point counts. As there's the leading pass over the top, but just a bit too much. Bit too soon, it goes back into the danger zone. Yeah, excellent defense from Deep Space.
Lovely poach off from Georgie Hill there, really wise decision.
So Hill, that is an incredibly impressive break to Sandwell. Not entirely sure how he got away with it. Back into Hill, back across to Sandwell. Take goes under, a little bit of separation, but it is enough to see off Haywood. Tate's calling for something and then overshooting But Moss rescues it, sparing some blushes, has multiple options, doesn't want to force it to either of them. Instead waits for the team to sort their way through and feeds Gibson. Front corner, waits for the cut. Sandwell makes one, tries to shimmy shake his way free and just has to clear out. Now Moss, that's a lot of hesitation. And it almost works out, but he drops it and rescues it. An incredible recovery grab.
Well, after some real dirty moves, just squeezing Gibson, making it even harder for her to sneak that breakout, and they bring themselves to match point number 1 of many.
That's some quick maths.
1 of 9, I think. I'm never very good at that, doing that one.
So I don't love this cut by Moss, but in reality, the thing is you always want to turn your defender, and that's something he does fantastically to Oliver May with the second stutter step. If I was Oliver May, and I was as fit as Oliver May, probably would have just stood there and not tried to bite on some of those cuts, because some of them just aren't going to come off. But then also maybe touch them up a little bit. At the end of the day, that's great work by Moss.
Oh, okay. Well, so to divert us away from the phraseology, so shellacking, to shellac. Shellac is a verb in the English language. The present participle, shellacking, to varnish something with shellac, which is a type, as we said, of type of varnishing, acrylic-y type thing. It's a natural excretion. But if you go in and ask for a French polish at the wrong nail bar, they will apply shellac to your nails, and it's quite difficult to remove.
And then that's what your nails will be for the next 6 months. Gets it across. That's in the hands of Amelia Edwards. I didn't think it would make it to the hands of another Lemming player, to be honest with you. That was a lot of pressure all around the sideline. Kapma now back working Davis. Kapma to Wilson. Wilson doesn't want the pop. Has Davis. Has Daly as well. Goes over the top to Daly. Can't complete the swing to Pantling. Can to Davis, who finds Pantling. But again, here comes... Well, I was expecting a trap, but they didn't imply it. Then Wilson wants to lead one over the top to Kapma. That is a brilliant find. Lots of space. Has Edwards on the opposite side of the pitch. Pulls the defender. Risky low throw, and that's always going to be tough for Evie Harms to wrap her fingers around.
Yeah, I just really didn't need to put quite so much on that one. Could have waited a little bit. Kind of, you can see the intensity is the correct level, but the just too hasty, really trying to hit that shot early, spying the poach. You know, I reckon Harms could probably have done a little bit of shake and bake.
Huge layout hand block by Amelia Edwards. There might be a call. I hope there isn't, but Amelia Potter seems to be holding her hand. That is very impressive. I love a layout hand block.
Let's watch that one again. Well, must-win situation for Lemmings in this next point.
Gotta lay it all on the line.
Although, with the mountain to climb, even the most competitive of athletes, there still has to be a little bit of a moment of, could we just end this? Surely not. They'll fight for every single moment of this game. So retracted foul call, that will stand.
Brilliant. Brilliant work by Edwards. Absolutely huge layout defensive hand block. And now can Lemmings punch it in? Look at how far away that disc still managed to get from the front of the end zone where the block occurred. Wilson. Davis goes up the line against Rowe. Collects it. Front corner. Minimal space. Maximum effort from Wilson to try and get free, and he attacks in that short space again. Hammer over the top looking for, I thought, Daly, but looks like it's going to be Kapma who takes it.
See, now that, when your handler gives you a very, very tight, started off far too close to the handler type squiggly cut, that is the better way, the more kind of tried and tested methodical way to score a goal. The hammer to the break side, the soft side of the pitch. Let's get another look at that huge Amelia Edwards layout block. Like I say, star power in her own right. If you don't know who she is, well, better study up some.
Nice hammer from Davis. Recognised the defence had all been pulled over to one side. 3 white jerseys. Goes to Kapma. It's probably the best position to chase that one down.
And you know, he's a tall athlete.
It's always useful if you can have one of them tall athletes in your back pocket.
Athlete. And does, as I've already mentioned on several live streams at this point, a lot of these Lemmings younger players really do commit to the time in the gym. In fact, if you'd like to see some delightful gym buddy action, the social media presence of Evie Harms and Rosie Bailey, those two working out together, challenging each other. The latest goal, I think, of Rosie Bailey is to do that kind of yoga handstand thing that I think some of the commentators were trying to do yesterday. Doing some relaxing yoga after a long day's work in the booth.
Say some commentators, I'm not included in that, as I'm sure most people watching didn't need to be told. As it goes back into the middle, in deep space to Caudron on the far side, near sideline, forgive me. And looking straight back into Idermendi. Says no to the pop. So that little setup of the swing, swing, middle, pop and swing again. And that time Caudron, it was red all the way. Brilliant heads-up defensive play by Sasha Haynes. Getting the turn.
A little bit of revenge for Haynes, having been on the other side of a couple of defensive efforts so far in this match.
Atwell. Back to Ellis. Ellis goes down the line to May. Then Ellis clears out herself. There's the swing. Back to Atwell. May moves into the dump position, and right now it's just been all handlers, really. May got a bit of an under and then stuck back to the handling. Low down grab. Wong. Atwell and too close to Denniston. Gets the touch and really thought that hook was going to come out of the hands of Cook, but he puts it back to Squires instead. Cook. Caudron clears up the line. Lot of space on the open side, but not enough separation from the defenders. Squires has Cook. Cook stutter steps. Doesn't get enough separation from May. Goes to Denniston instead. And the rain really starting to bucket down. Deep space, want to get this finished and get indoors as soon as possible. Starting to get a bit more gains on those unders. Van Zyl says no to Squires. Says yes to the form of Hulkyard. Hulkyard. Now it's starting to feel like the UK National Championships. Caudron wants to finish it. Idermendi gets the final score, and it's all over. 15-7 to the reigning champs.
Yeah, I could spy a cheeky little Max Squires sitting in the back pocket on the break side of the end zone. He had a big poach off from Ben Bruin, but Idermendi just with fantastic footwork and dynamism again in the end zone. He's a really, really hard matchup to take for any player out here in the UK and worldwide as well, because, of course, a big part of that championship win at the European stage last season. But a credited performance to Lemmings. They did respond and actually rise in the second half. A lot of the rhythm found, but it was just far too late on in the game. But Deep Space will be heading towards the finals later on today. They will be the final in our crown here at UK Nationals. But what's up next, Lorcan?
Well, there's only the business end of the tournament left to come. So plenty of action and only one place to stay with ULTI.TV. ULTI World is 2 weeks for the Junior Championships. Freudian slip, shall we say. But in order, we have at 12:20 the women's final. Followed up with 2 o'clock, the open final, and finally 4, the mixed final. So only the business end of the tournament left to come. So much action to see. Congratulations on Deep Space for making it to the final. Commiserations to Lemmings, but their 3 or 4 year long campaign towards 2026 continues, and we will see them at the European Championships. So plenty more action from those Northerners to come as well. Plenty more action all across the boards. There's only one place to be, and that's the ULTI.TV YouTube channel. So we will see you next catch time, same catch channel.
Trying to get your attention, you make me nervous. Sweaty palms ain't making it much better. Something about you feels so special. Pretty up from the minute that I met you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Merci beaucoup.
Yeah, Ultimate.
ULTI.TV.